All right, it's May the 4th on Monday, and we have Paul Hansen on the line. And Paul Hansen, it's all you, sir.
Yeah, I have in front of me it's a document called Subpoena Duces Tecum that I'm delivering to Chris Klotz, my Sixth Amendment counsel that's aiding me in the case with the United States against Paul Hansen and Ken Hovind. And the subpoena that I'm putting together here is to Scott Schneider, the IRS criminal agent that prosecuted in Kent in 2006 and prosecuted us again in 2015. Duces Tecum simply means bring the documents to court. So I'm going to read them off, and they'll be self-explanatory, but basically it's a notice for Scott to bring these documents with him when he appears in court, and it also gives him time to get the documents together and be prepared to answer any questions that might be associated with the documents. So number one, documentation that evidences that Hovind or Hansen did the charged claimed acts on land owned by the United States of America, as the United States of America is titled in the Articles of Confederation. Number two, documentation that evidences that Hovind or Hansen did make any mailings, emails, calls, or filings at a location where the land is owned by the United States of America. Documentation that evidences that Hovind or Hansen mailings, emails, calls, or filings that passed over land owned by the United States of America. Number four, documentation that evidences Hansen or Hovind mailings, phone calls, emails were affected upon land owned by the United States of America. Documentation that evidences that the courthouse building where the cases were tried of Hovind in 2006 and 2015, and the case to be tried on May of 2015 is land owned by the United States of America. Number six, documentation that evidences the attorney, Eggers, representing the United States of America, has a state of Florida attorney license that operates on land owned by the United States of America. Documentation that evidences Creation Science Evangelism workers operated on land owned by the United States of America let me start over on that. Documentation that evidences Creation Science Evangelism workers operated on land owned by the United States of America in 1995 to 2006. Documentation, number 8, documentation that evidences the bank that Hovind was indicted in 2006 as with structuring was operating on land owned by the United States of America. Number 9, documentation that evidences Kent Hovind was authorized to withhold taxes for the United States as prosecuted in 2006. Number 10, documentation that evidences Kent Hovind or Hansen was a resident or resided on land owned by the United States of America at any time from 1995 to 2015. Number 11, documentation that evidences when and how the plaintiff was created. The plaintiff in this case is the United States of America, all capital letters. Number 12, documentation that evidences what plaintiff relied upon to prove the court's personal jurisdiction over the man called Paul John Hansen and the man called Kent Hovind. Number 13, documentation that evidences the man called Paul John Hansen and the man called Kent Hovind is a person named in the charged written laws of this case. Number 14, documentation that evidences the definition of the term person used in the charged written law of this case. Number 15, documentation that evidences that the charged written law of this case has force and effect on not owned by the United States of America. Documentation that number 16, documentation that evidences the IRS agents have written authority to operate outside of the 50 United States. Number 17, documentation that evidences you, Scott Schneider, knew any of the following at any time from 1995 to 2015. That Kent did not, number one, Kent did not have workers, Creation Science Evangelism workers, working on land of the United States of America. Kent had no duty to withhold any tax from any worker associated with Creation Science Evangelism, the ministry. Number 3, Kent had no banking activity, structuring actions associated with any illegal or criminal activity. Number 4, that all or some of the United States written laws as charged from 2006 to 2015 do not apply to Kent Hovind or where Kent Hovind operated. Number 5, what written law does the United States of America rely upon that gave authority to Judge Rodgers to administratively take property belonging to Creation Science Evangelism Trust as land and property, not on land owned by the United States of America? Number 18, the last one, documentation of the written law that the United States relied upon that was the process that Hansen or Hovind would have needed to follow to become a United States citizen. That should do it.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Hansen. I'll stop this and get it out.